welcome back to another episode of Medical Money, the podcast where we help you, healthcare workers, learn finance and money. I'm Kirk Roberts, ER nurse, financial educator, and also licensed financial representative.
And I'm Ben Chandia, firefighter, advanced CMT, and also a licensed financial professional.
All right, guys. Today is one of my favorite topics. So let's get into it. It's very interesting, pun intended. What we're going to talk about today is interest. And we hear about interest all the time. It's in our credit cards. It's in our cars, loans, student loans, mortgages, you name it, there's interest. But most people don't really understand interest or even understand how it works. And that's dangerous because interest is actually one of the biggest forces in the financial and money world. So what is interest? Well, let me break it down to you in one sentence. Interest is the cost of money. So if you borrow money, you actually you pay the interest. If you save it, you invest it, and you lend it, that's actually money that you're earning. So your interest that you're earning. So
yeah, and really, it's like rent, or if you're using someone else's money, that's what interest is, right?
So like from a bank.
It could be a bank, credit card, maybe your Uncle Joe, whatever the case is. You have to pay that, right? You have to pay that back, and typically it's with interest. And that's just how it works. So most people ask, okay, well, what's my interest rate, right? APR, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. But really, a lot of it comes down to, okay, what's my payment going to be? What's the APR on it? How are things going to go in the future? Can I make this?
So you're saying that most people are asking, what's my interest rate and what's my payment?
And really, it should come down to, okay, well, what's the total cost and how long is it going to take, right? That's the only two things you should really worry about.
So what's the total time and what's the total cost?
Yep.
So let me give you guys an example. Let's suppose you take a $10,000 loan, and it could be for whatever, car, personal loan, whatever it is, at 10%. Over 5 years. So $10,000 loan, 10% interest, 5 years. So that sounds reasonable, right? Okay. So the payment is actually going to be around $212 a month. So over that 5-year period of time, when you're paying that payment, you'll actually end up paying around $2,748 in interest. So that $10,000 loan, which you have to pay back, actually translates now to $12,748, right? So now let's say you take that same $10,000 at 12%. And most of you are kind of going, okay, 12%, right? And then you over like a 3-year period of time. So the monthly payment goes up a little bit to $332, and that might seem a lot more. But what were the questions we were supposed to be asking? Not what's the interest rate and what's the payment. It's what's the total cost and the total time.
Yep.
That's what we care about. So guess what? In the 12% at 3 years, you're actually only paying $1,957 versus that $2,748. So that's $800 less on a 5-year loan.
Yeah,
right?
It's crazy. It's crazy. Guys, it gets even better. Because if you were to, or worse, depending on your circumstances or how you look at it, because if you took that 3-year loan and after paying it off, you kept setting aside that $332 and you just invested it, right? You put it away and you don't even have to invest it. You can save it, right? After 2 years, you'd save almost $8,000.
So you're saying that my $10,000 that I paid off in 3 years at 12%, paying $332, and then I take that same $332 and for the next 2 years, just put it somewhere, not even earning interest, man, really, I would save an extra $8,000.
It's crazy.
Guys, does this make sense or does this make dollars? I mean, can you see that? And we're not even talking about the markets and investing in the markets. So, I mean, you'd be out of debt faster, and you'd be financially ahead, right?
And really, this is a great time to start changing that mindset, right? We talked about that in previous episode. Is your mindset shift, okay? Because now we're starting to get into things like the debt cycle versus the cash cycle, which we'll talk about in future episodes. But this is kind of what's leading a lot of people into that debt cycle is they're stuck, right? They're not willing to change that mindset. So, guys. make sure you're sharing these episodes with your friends, your coworkers, other professionals, because this information is powerful. So keep an eye out for future episodes.
Well, and a lot of people are thinking, oh my gosh, this probably takes a lot of math. Guys, this isn't a lot of hard math. Matter of fact, there's actually free tools out there, and I actually have it on my phone. There's an app out there that I personally use called EZ Calculator, E with the Z Calculator. And I'll show you a picture of it. It's free, it's super helpful, and it looks at the real cost of loans, interest rates, credit cards, all that kind of stuff as well. So the bottom line is, next time you're taking out a loan or swiping your credit card, the two questions to ask are, what's the total cost and what's the total time? I mean, don't let interest sneak up on you. I mean, understand it. Using it wisely, and you'll be way ahead of the game.
Yeah, for sure. Now, okay, let's start flipping things around. What if instead of borrowing your money, now you're investing your money? Okay, what if we can use interest to pay you instead of you paying someone else?
Love that.
Like it's super fun and powerful, really, when you know how to apply it properly. So here's a trick that I love, and it makes it very powerful. And this is why we say it's not that complicated, right? Easy math, okay? Not like drawing up medications. That can be a little complicated math, right? We like to simplify it. This rule is called the rule of 72. Okay, not 71, not 73, 72. Okay, and the way that it's broken down, this was actually introduced by an old Italian mathematician named Lucas Pacioli. I probably butchered that, but you get the idea. And he was back in 1492, and he called this the banker's rule of thumb. Right now, what it does is this is going to show how many doubling periods you're going to have on your money. Okay, all you do is you take the number 72. Okay, 72, and you divide it by any given interest rate. Okay, that's going to show how often or how many years your money is going to double.
So 72 divided by the interest you're earning on your money is the doubling periods that your money will double.
That's how it works.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's give you guys an example of this and actually how this works. So let's suppose I'm a rich uncle and I have a triplet nephews that I'm gonna give them $10,000 each.
Can I be a nephew?
You can be a nephew.
Okay.
All right. So each of these nephews, $10,000, and I'm gonna tell them for the next 48 years, you can't touch this money. Go invest it for your future. 48 years. So I give 10,000 to Ben and say, go do it. Ben goes, I'm gonna go where it's safe. And he goes to the banks and he's going to get a high yield savings account at 3%. So 72 divided by 3 is every 24 years, his money doubles. So that $10,000, 48 years later, which is 2 doubling periods, is now $40,000. So you happy?
I'll take 40,000.
40,000 and no extra money added.
Sweet.
All right.
Yeah.
So after 48 years, 72 divided by 3, 24, he now has $40,000. Now let's suppose my other nephew goes, Ben doesn't know much. I'm going to go get a certificate of deposit at 6% interest. So 72 divided by 6 is every 12 years. So 12 years, his money's going to double. So after 48 years, nothing more added, he now has $160,000. Better than Ben's 40,000? Yes, same money, same time, different interest rate, right? So now let's say my other nephew who's sitting back in the corner watching us be fools, right? And myself and Rick go, hey, what are you guys investing in? He goes and says, hey, I'm going to go to the markets, and he invests at 12%. 72 divided by 12 equals 6. So every 6 years, his money doubles. So before we had 3%, 40,000, 6%. We had that 12, that's 160,000. Now, what do you guys think it's going to be? So in your head, you're like, oh, I got bad at math. 2.560, $2.5 million. Same time, same money, different interest rates. So, and here's the interesting thing is that, it's the same money, same time, just different interest rates, right? And so he invested in the markets.
And a lot of people ask, well, where am I going to find someone that does 12%, right? That's unheard of. No one's doing that. Guess what? The S&P 500, the top 500 companies in the United States over the last 100 years, 100, has averaged about 10%.
So 72 divided by 10, right? 7.2 years. I mean, that's what you're going to have.
And so it's crazy because it's right in front of us. It's been in front of us the entire time. Okay. And that's why it's so important to find a licensed financial professional who knows these things. Okay. Don't just go to wherever. Okay. Make sure you're checking your sources. Okay. But, a lot of the times that's really the magic, right? Is making sure that your money's in the right vehicle. And I actually heard heard that it's hard to verify these kind of things, but Einstein apparently said that the compound interest was the eighth wonder of the world. So it starts to gets your brain going.
Right. And so interest is either your best friend or it can be your worst enemy. And here's the question. When people say, well, where should I put my money? And where do most people go? The bank, right? And so traditionally, banks are going to offer around 0.01% annual percentage rate, APR, which means over your period of time, that's how much interest you're going to earn, 0.01%. And that's the checking account. Now, the national average of a checking account is a little bit higher with maybe 0.03% APR. Now, the national average for a savings account, the interest is about 0.41%. And that's online banks that actually offer at a higher rate. Now, the traditional banks, like the brick and mortar ones, the ones you could walk into, actually offer a lower interest rate. Now, remember how we talked about Rule 72? So 72 divided by what you earn on your money, the interest, right? So let's just be generous and say that the bank offers 1%. You heard before 0.01%, right? 0%, nothing. So basically 72 divided by 1 is 72. So, which means your money is going to double every 72 years. So my question, and not to throw this in your face, but sort of, how many doubling periods do you have in your life? So if you're putting stuff where your money is not earning interest, how many doubling periods do you have in your life? I mean, when you go to the bank and you're going to the cashier, do you think that they just take your money and go put it in a box saying Ben, and some Harry Potter goblin from Green God's Bank is going over there and then putting in some cents every once in a while? Of course not. Banks are out there lending your money, right? And so while you're here earning 3%, the $40,000 that Ben wants to earn, and they've now just put the money in the economy in the markets, now earning 12%. So are they happy to give Ben the $40,000 when they've just made $2.5 million? Have you guys ever wondered why cashiers at banks have those little dumb suckers right next to them when you go there to get a product? Because you're a dumb.
It's because you are what you eat.
You're a sucker, right? Because they're taking your money and they're going like, oh yeah, this is great. I mean, guys, look at any city, any big city. What are the biggest and tallest buildings? They're banks, people, because they're taking your money and giving you that low interest rate, right? So does this make sense? Or does this make dollars, guys?
And Kirk, the question really, again, should be, okay, if I am going to be purchasing something, right, maybe a mortgage or getting a loan or a car or whatever the case is, we need to remember those two questions, right? What's the total cost and what's the total time?
Yep.
How long is this going to take me? Okay. Now, a couple things, guys. One, we're not telling you to boycott the banks. Okay, we still need banks, right? You still need a checking account.
100%.
Okay, but if we want to get wealthy, we need to put our money where the rich are putting their money. Okay, so that's why it's so important, guys, to be having this knowledge and knowing when and where to apply it. Okay, so please make sure that you guys are sharing these episodes with your friends, your coworkers, family members, whoever you think could benefit from it. Also, make sure to write any kind of questions, comments to medicalmoneycash@gmail.com. Okay, we'll go through those emails, make sure we answer that. Those questions, maybe have it here as a topic on the podcast, right? Be kind of cool. But guys, we're super excited that you guys were able to watch this. Hopefully saw some value from this, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. Hope this interests you. Have a good day, guys. Bye.
I'm looking for a man in finance. The trust fund. 6'5", blue eyes. Finance. Trust fund. 6'5". I'm looking for a man in finance. The trust fund.